Yes, people, welcome back to Off Script, and today we're joined by the main man, Wade Clemens. How are we doing, my friend?
The one and only.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
We're doing great. It's an honor to have you on the channel, my friend.
Now,
Thank you, man. It's good to see you guys.
now, I feel like we need to get into
Mm.
a controversial topic, something that had the fans going crazy this weekend.
Yeah.
KSI. He got his knockout. He got his win over Joe Fournier. Now, I want your opinions on that fight, the style that you saw, and that potential elbow.
I mean, he elbowed him. It's clear as day, dude.
Yeah, man.
It's clear as day. Or he forearmed him, whatever. I know people are trying to use like colloquials, like it wasn't an elbow, it was a forearm. The part of his arm that's not supposed to hit anybody during a boxing match hit the guy, and it knocked him out. So
Mm.
super accident. It is what it is, and you just, I mean, chalk it up to the game. They'll probably give him a no contest, and we move on.
So, what do you think should happen next for KSI? Is it a rematch? Is it a no contest? Or should he just carry on and continue his momentum?
Yeah, no rematch, man. I was one of the guys screaming from the rooftop, why are we doing this fight with Joe Fournier outside of just giving KSI another camp? Because I didn't think it did much for him. You know, me personally, I didn't think that because I didn't see Joe as a very dangerous guy for him, right? But I understand now looking back on it that it was more so for KSI to just get another fight under his belt. Yeah, it was for the 9-0 pro thing, but I just thought it was good to get KSI back in camp, keep him consistent. So fair play there. But no, it'll be a no contest if the PBA is worth their title. We'll see. But regardless, there's no rematch here. KSI should just move on. If he's gonna do the Tommy thing, that's interesting. Regardless, it's done. Move on.
So I just wanted to touch base a little bit on KSI's actual ability, and like we saw that different style. It was very erratic. Me and Morgan said it was almost a predator style. Like you didn't even know what was coming. It was left, he was
Yeah.
right. What do you actually make of it? It's not traditional boxing. He obviously trains in an MMA gym. What do you make of the style? Do you think he's going to work against that higher level opponent?
I mean, it can for a period of time until. Listen, the thing with boxing is if they see something they haven't seen before, it takes them a little bit, obviously, to adjust to guys that don't throw like they're normally throwing. That's in any sport. You know, you do something and see a guy doing things that you haven't seen. You're like, hold on, I got to figure this guy out. But as time goes on, and I'm assuming his next fight will be 6, 8, 10 rounds. I don't know. But as the fight goes on, if you don't have anything other than that style, then at some point guys catch on to it and they use the fundamentals they've learned that maybe you don't have to overwhelm you. So that's what you worry about if you're KSI. I like his style. It suits him well because he's not, like you said, he's not a traditional boxer.
No.
And they're not trying to make him into something he isn't, like Jake very much took a traditional boxing, like if you handed Jake a boxing for dummies book and he read it, that's how he would fight because that's just very, not because Jake's a dummy, but well, but no. Basically, it's the basics, right? It's the jab, it's the right hand, it's the hook, it's the bended knee stance. Not necessarily bladed, but that's what Jake does. KSI is a little different. He's utilizing what he's good at, which is being explosive, quick, fast. And while the punches aren't necessarily the most technical boxing taught punches, they're powerful. So yeah, I like his style. I just think there's things that he can still do to improve, and I think he's going to do that.
Now, if this KSI victory doesn't get overturned into a no contest or a DQ, is it a bad look for Misfits?
That's not. I mean, the only bad look for Misfits was Callie Sauerland trying to act like it wasn't an elbow, or trying to say like, "Oh, you got to see this angle to see the punch land first." Like, no, dude, he didn't land a punch first. The back of his glove, which is not a scoring shot, it's not a legal shot. But you'll go walk into a freaking gym and smack someone with the back of your wrist and be like, "What, bro? It's okay as I do it. It's real." You
Yeah.
know, no, dude, that ain't gonna work. So that will be the only bad look. It would be more of a bad look for the PBA. But the way it sucks because the way the public will see it is a bad look for KSI because he is one of these CEOs of Misfits. Like, oh, they must have paid him off. Like KSI has that's not him at all. He's just fighting, and that's what sucks about this whole thing is Misfits kind of made it worse by like insinuating that you didn't have the full story if you thought it was an elbow or a forearm when that is the full story. Because all that does is bring negative attention to KSI. If they would have just come out and been super honest, been like, you know what? It was an accident. We didn't, obviously, KSI didn't mean to hit the guy with his elbow. It happened. We're sorry. Won't happen again, whatever. And we just move on. That would have been the better answer instead of like trying to play coy and like, oh, maybe it wasn't. Like, no, dude. So it won't be a bad look for him unless Misfits makes it a bad look again.
Yeah, I agree. Now, we've talked a lot about KSI. We're going to move on to another super fight, which I think caught everyone off guard. Salt Papi has been dethroned. Anthony Taylor won his fight. Now, what do we make of that? What do you make of that? Obviously, it was 3 rounds. There's a bit of controversy around that. And Anthony Taylor was victorious, which a lot of people did not expect.
Yeah, I mean, the tough part is you kind of like I picked Papi in a I want to see him win way not because I don't like Anthony Taylor, but just because I want Papi to be a superstar, like a global superstar. But with the parameters around the fight, you had to kind of go, yeah, Anthony Taylor is going to be really tough to beat in this amount of time. His style is just it's pestering, it's annoying, it's frustrating, and it doesn't allow guys like Papi to really get the shots off and look pretty and flashy like he normally does because of that just smothering forward style. So it doesn't, like, Sensei and I were talking about this last night, it doesn't necessarily diminish Salt Papi, at least not in the long term for me. Maybe in the short term, but I don't know, man. I looking back on it, if you're a Monday morning quarterback, you go, should we have even done that? Because what did it really do? Like, it built Anthony Taylor up, but are people going to watch Anthony Taylor in a main event if it's not KSI?
100%.
So I get it because you want to have competition, and I'm the first guy that's like, yes, let's make it competitive. But I think looking back on it, Papi maybe just wasn't ready for that big a step with that parameter in that fight. And I think maybe getting him some more under his belt, we could run that back in the future. But I don't know if it's even worth it to do that again,
Well, Salt Papi is definitely going to have to be on his redemption arc now. But someone else that is smashing his redemption arc is Deji. Now, who's been in there? He's getting warm. What are your thoughts on that fight, and how impressed were you?
I mean, yeah, Deji did his thing, man. Swarms was like we talked about, a little bit of an athlete, a little bit of a different guy that Deji had seen, and especially in the first round, Swarms was looking good, man. He was firing off some shots, and Deji was having to weather that storm early and end up overwhelming him. That was impressive. I thought he did what he was supposed to do. I saw some people a little like, why couldn't he knock Swarms out? Like, whatever. And I can understand that. For Dej, you want to see him have that like staple performance like he did against Fuzi, but not every fight's going to be that way. I don't know what to think about Dej right now because I wonder what the future is for him. Does he want to be like he said, go and fight Jake Paul in the rematch? Is that the level we want to get to? Because if so, we really gotta start stepping it up as far as competition's concerned because what did he 36 Swarms? Like he just beat him every round. It wasn't even competitive. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's tough because Deji also wants to put on big fights, and I heard him say Liam Payne's name. So it's like he's gonna have to choose that route. Does he want to go competition heavy and maybe lesser on the name, or does he want to do the exhibitions for the bigger names?
Well, let's talk a little bit about Deji and his improvements in boxing. What do you think needs to be his next step to really level up, to be able to then potentially compete with Jake Paul and the likes of the big names? They're saying potentially a fight between Deji and Salt Papi. Now, me personally, I think that's too much too soon and could potentially put Deji in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I would agree with you that it's too much, but I don't know about too soon because he's been around, man. He's been here. So if we're saying it's too much, it's not because it's too soon. We're just saying that we think Papi is the better boxer depending on when Papi actually started the rumors, we have no idea. But he only has 3 official fights. So it's like, I don't think it's too soon. I do think it's a little too much. But what would Deji need to do? I mean, one of the biggest things is working on, like everybody's like, oh, just work on your cardio. It's working on having efficiency over long periods with his cardio. Because like even in the Swarms fight, there wasn't much danger from either guy in that last round, right? They're just they're there, they're moving around. Deji's doing his thing, he's closing the gap. But if you want Deji to level up, you need to make him an explosive killer. And it's like, I don't know if it's a mindset thing, if it's a training thing to remain safe and box smart, but his abilities are based in explosive power and quick movements. And you can't do that for the entirety of the fight, no. But there needs to be an emphasis on moments, like winning moments, and building his cardio. Honestly, Deji should drop 10 to 15 pounds, you know, and cut down that way. It would help him out a lot. But as far as like styles and stuff like that, I want to see him better defensively still, as far as just answering combinations and staying switched on versus just I'm throwing and then I'm out of range. I'd rather see him be around in range to be able to defend and then transition to offense quickly, because that's where I feel that he would get those explosive reactions, those boom, you know, and be able to follow up and in fight. But regardless, I think it was a great win for him. I love Dej. He's such a good kid, and I just want to see him do well.
Yeah, vice versa here. We can't wait to see Deji back out in the ring. But we're going to circle back to a name that you brought up earlier, and that is Big Tommy Fury. Now, he was at the event. He was getting in fights left, right, and centre. I think Idris Bergo
happened. He was pushing Jade in the ring. He wanted all of it. John Fury got involved.
Yeah. It was wild to see, man. It was wild to see. Oh, God, what do I think about that? First off, I don't know why Idris Virgo was doing what he was doing. Like, brother, you're fumbling the bag for your boss. Like, I don't get that. But as far as the fight itself, it's a tough fight for KSI, man. It really is. Again, we talked about it earlier, you know. When you get fresh eyes on what KSI is doing, you're like, okay, let me take a round here. And Joe was kind of doing that. Let me take a round here and just figure out what this guy's doing. Let's see if I can take some of his shots. What's his power feel like? What's his strength in the clinch like? And then that second round, you know, really start to work back. The problem was Joe didn't start to work back, and I think a younger, faster, stronger, more capable, in my opinion, better volume fighter like Tommy Fury is going to have his moments to really let KSI know the levels, as we say. But I mean, KSI is it's just so hard to pick a fight with his, because you just don't know. Like you guys said, you just don't know what's going to happen with this dude. Like, who lands a fucking elbow?
This guy.
Bro. And that's another thing, too, that KSI, it's a good and bad thing that he's so unorthodox and he's so, you know, wild, or whatever you want to call it. It's a good thing because it's hard to prepare for it, but it's a bad thing because you also, if you're KSI, put yourself in positions where you're throwing punches behind the head and doing things that aren't necessarily on purpose, but they do give you some disadvantages and some things that you end up like crowding yourself on the entries and ending up in these headbutt clinches. So those are tough things that I think he's still going to have to work through, but I don't see Tommy having an issue after a couple of rounds understanding what's in front of him.
Absolutely. Now, we've spoken about a lot of misfits. We've covered it all. We covered all bases. Now, I just wanted to get involved with Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Now, I know your involvement in there, and I'm excited, man. I think this is going to be maybe a fight Jake Paul might enjoy a bit more than his last one. Now, I wanted your opinions on that whole fight and the lead up to it. And
I think it's a fun fight. I do favor Jake in the fight. I think he's just, again, we talk about MMA guys coming over to boxing. Nate's not a normal MMA guy coming to boxing, and I know people just want to go, he's a grappler, he's this. And yeah, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's also got 16 years of boxing. You know, he's boxing before he was doing jiu-jitsu. He's not the most orthodox fighter. He's very much a volume slap puncher that just, it starts to overwhelm you at certain points. If he can get past, you know, a certain amount of rounds and a threshold to be able to just turn the dial back. But he gets hit a lot. I worry about the scar tissue all over his face. Just one of those cuts. But the build-up has been pretty respectful to this point, which is surprising. I think, especially from Nate's side, he was, you know, get very complimentary of Jake and all the stuff he's doing, calling Jake the biggest fight out right now. that surprised me because I don't know, Jake wants that like mutual respect, not necessarily like he wants to be friends with the MMA guys, but he wants them to be like, yeah, we're real fighters type of thing. You know, he has that kind of. So I think he was surprised by that too. But it'll get a little more intense as the fight gets closer, and then I don't know. I don't know what Nate's training's looking like. So I did see some videos out a couple days ago, so I'll be breaking some of that down. But I just hope that the idea isn't just to walk forward the entire fight into punches, because Jake will step back and throw a right hand. I don't care how many Nate's taken over his career, he will hit the canvas if he eats a couple of those. So
now we've had a huge documentary just on Netflix of Conor McGregor, and now Conor McGregor is talking to Nate Diaz. Jake Paul's, I think he's trying to get that fight down the line now.
Yeah, of course.
That happened, do you think?
You asked me this a year ago, I would have said no. 2 years ago, I'd have said you're fucking stupid. Now I'm like, well, dude, never say never with this guy Conor, because if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And he and Jake would, and he and really anybody would put on a phenomenal show. I'm pissed because I'm not anywhere in that documentary. Jordy got in, MMA Guru got in. I'm pissed, bro. I didn't get in.
That's my own breakdown.
It's my own fault, man. I haven't been covering MMA as much, dog. But getting back to it on the breakdown. But no, yeah. Do I see it happening? It's gonna take a lot, man. It's gonna take Conor seeing the opportunity to do it. Like Jake would have to beat Nate, right? And then call out Conor. Conor, I think, still has 3 or 4 deals on, or 3 or 4 fights left on his UFC deal. So I don't know how long that'll take, but maybe the UFC would try to do a crossover thing again. I don't know if Dana wants to be in business with Jake, but I could see it happening, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Well, talking about MMA guys, legends in the MMA scene. Now, the PFL recently just signed one of the biggest MMA fights in the world, physically and stature-wise, Ngannou. Now, what do we make of that? Why did they make this move, and how come he's come over to the PFL? Your lot.
Well, the deal specifies a couple of things. One, Francis is not going to fight for the rest of the year, which I thought was interesting. He's going to start in 2024.
Oh, interesting.
He's going to make probably around $10 million a fight, which he was about to make $8 million to fight Jones. So kind of a split there. I am interested to know what was the deal, like the sealer of the deal for Francis. I know he got some kind of equity as well. And PFL, they're pushing all their chips in. I know it's only a 2 or 3 fight deal, but they're pushing all in to get whatever exposure that Francis comes with. We'll see. I work with the PFL. I love the company. I think it's a big move. I wonder who you put him in there with that's going to draw right now. You know, you put him in there with Verdun, maybe. But regardless, I love it for Francis. I'm a fighter first guy, so I do love it for Francis. I love it for PFL because it's the baddest man on the planet, you know. But I can't lie. I wish I would have thought that Jones and Francis fight.
Yeah, I agree. No, I was going to say, is he truly the baddest man on the planet with Jones sitting?
I know. That's what I'm saying, man.
But yeah,
I wish.
We'll circle back to the influencer boxing because we've got a huge event coming up, and that is the Kingpin event. Now, talk to us. Yes. Is there any fights you're most excited for that's getting Wade licking his lips?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, man. You know, the two semifinals on both sides, I'm super excited for, the men and women. We're still waiting on if we're going to get some of the guys back that were injured, you know, with Tom having the deviated septum and Austin with whatever happened with the ankle. Still waiting to see if they're going to be a part of this second round. But all the winners are back on the men's side. I think all of the girls are back. So we're super pumped there. I'm super pumped for just to see how Dublin turns out for this card. Just pumped to go to Dublin and got some really cool content ideas, and we're trying to work on that. I think would just take the whole thing to another level. So all in all, July 1st, super excited.
Okay. Now, obviously, we had someone we were very impressed by, and that was Wenderson. He put on a show, and he's going to be fighting with my boy Kilkenny. Now, I've seen behind the scenes Kilkenny. He can put on a show, but I was also very impressed with Wenderson. Now, I don't know which way this is going to go personally. I didn't know whether you had any opinions there. I know you have to be neutral, but whether there was anything that you could...
No, it's a tough fight. It's a tough fight for, I think, for both guys in certain ways. I think Wenderson's going to have to deal with range he hasn't seen. And that jab that Kenny has, it tends to just shock people. And they're like, how do I get around this thing? And Wenderson being a guy that will take punches to step into range, in the fights you've seen him in, even the Philly Peck fight, he's just shaking stuff off, walking into range. Don't know if that's going to be the best strategy for a guy like Kenny, but he is with Wenderson with a Cuban boxing coach, and you can kind of see that with the new footwork and him cross-stepping. And I think that would be interesting for Kenny to deal with, man, a guy that's a big-time angle switcher on him, Can he kind of find this target with that jab and line up and be able to use his footwork and stay square and not get caught at bad angles? It'd be interesting. So I think Wenderson definitely poses a threat. With that win, it's like, dude, he might be move the third one to Brazil. You know what I'm saying? But if Kenny wins, I think there's a fun matchup on the other side for Kenny. And should he win this whole tournament, dude, Kenny is right there with some of the bigger names in the scene now. Like, you got to give him co-main or main event fights at that point.
Now you're smashing at Kingpin, and we can't wait to see you back at Kingpin. However, we've just come from Misfits 07,
and it was lacking someone. It was lacking the breakdown boys. It needed that build up. I feel like it was missing that.
Now, can we ever see you back into Misfits?
A little surprise guest.
Listen, I've said it, man. It's on them more than it's on me at this point, because I don't hold any. I might hold one grudge, but that's something that's got to be settled. That's just, if you're going to extend the olive branch, I'm willing to step over and hear it out, but it needs to be settled. I need to have a phone call, and we'll settle it that way. But for the most part, I don't hold any grudges with anybody over at Misfits. Obviously, myself and JJ are fine, cool. Like, I think the dude is a monster. And I'd love to work the event again, but it's like I said, it's one of those things where I'm not going to go and be like, hey, let me work again. After some of the stuff that went down, it's just not something I feel super comfortable with. So, like I said, they need to have a conversation, and if not, it's okay. You know what I mean? They're still doing their thing. I loved the fight week build-up content. They were doing the fighter arrival videos. Shout out my boy Chris Ridgway. He was putting out crazy amounts of content, man. So I think they're still doing well. I think they're using some great ideas. I think, obviously, for the live show, things can still be changed and run a little better, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, at Misfits, they do something called tag team boxing. Now, I know you're a skilled boxer yourself, and you're very good friends with a very skilled boxer as well. When can we see that matchup? I know, obviously, there's those medical issues, and hopefully they can start to get better.
Right.
Do you ever see...
That's actually where I was at right now. We'll deal with that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I would definitely send my hitter, man. I would send my hitter. I don't know if I would probably send a proxy in my place. So it'd probably be Sensei and Salt Poppy, or Sensei and Temper, man. Go get those guys, and I'll hang out in the corner and do my thing. It would be fun, man. It would be fun to do something like that with Isaiah. But for now, I'll be like Galactus and send the Herald out there for me, right? The Silver Surfer or somebody go out there. For these Marvel people, that's a dope reference. Come on, man.
Now, here at Askoffscript, when we interview fighters, towards the end, we love to give them the mic. However, you're across the ocean, so we can't give you the mic. But is there any final messages or any words you'd like to tell to the people?
Hey, man, listen. Where you guys are with Offscript now?
Offscript, yeah. Offscript.
Shout out Offscript, man. Go and follow, subscribe over there. These two dudes, hard workers, always on fight week, getting it, always finding good content from these two. So go support. You know what I'm saying? As far as just my final message, man, let's keep it going. Keep influencer boxing going. Keep building. Keep growing. We'll see where we're at in a year.
Absolutely. Hopefully, we can hit that 1,000 subscriber mark so soon.
Yes.
We're here. 5 weeks in. We're nearly there. So hopefully we get there real soon. But we appreciate having you on the channel.
An absolute pleasure.
Honestly, you never had to do this, so we really appreciate having you here and always having the best takes in the YouTube boxing scene. And in boxing in general, MMA. Don't get me wrong.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So much, man.
Thank you.